Hello and welcome to this video where I look at Doodly versus Mango Whiteboard Animation. So we all know quite a lot about Doodly. We might not know so much about the Mango Whiteboard Animation, but I'm going to do a versus video today and I'm going to see which one is most appropriate for you, and you might be surprised by the results. So let's have a look at what Doodly does. Here we go. I'm just previewing it now, and Doodly just writes things in. So hello, I'm Doodly and I cost $67. It doesn't just write things in. I'm going to add a new scene here, and we've also got characters. Let's add Adam sprinting. So we've got characters here. One thing you can do with Doodly, which is an upgrade, and that's the rainbow upgrade, and you can see my review of the rainbow upgrade here, is I can go and I can add the rainbow coloured version of Adam, and I can do that for any asset, and the only thing I think I can't do that for is text. So I can add colour or I can have just black and white. However, you've got to pay for that in Doodly. That is another thing to pay out for. Doodly costs $67, and then there are various upgrades you can get. We've also got lots of props. You can of course add your own, but if you're buying one of these things, then you're probably going to want to have one that has lots of assets in. Let's have a phone for Adam. So we can search for the assets, and we've got a phone. And maybe Adam is running to answer the phone. And again, colour or not. We've also got scenes and buildings and things. So Doodly has some templates, but then I wouldn't really call them templates, I call them more scenes. We can add text, and there's quite a lot of fonts that we can have here. And we've got music now. You've got music, and you've also got sound effects, and there's a marketplace where you can go and buy more. So if I click on preview, what will happen is it previews everything. So Adam gets drawn in, coloured in, and the phone gets drawn in. Doodly's all about drawing. We can change the hands that draw things in. We can have left or right handed. We have cartoon hands. We can add subtitles. We can add subtitles to the video. So I'm writing, this is Adam and he's in a rush. So when we play the video, I'm just going to show the preview here. You'll see it says this is Adam and he's in a rush, and it does subtitling. So I'm going to hide that preview. The other thing we can do is we can change the exit animation, and we can have it hang around at the end of a slide for so many seconds. The other thing we can do is we can add camera movements. So I'm just going to put this here. So if I double click on this, we can have it there, and then we can have it there. So again, I'm just going to show the preview of that so we can see that. We can see it's moving in, we can see our cartoon hand there. I pretty much just described what Doodly does. One of the things that's really good about Doodly is it's so simple. If we wanted to go and export this, we can export up to 1080p. So now I'm going to look at what Mango Whiteboard Animator does as well. So this is vastly different. This is more complicated than Doodly, but we can add in text, we can add in images, we can add in shapes, which is something that maybe you can't do so well in Doodly, but yeah, we can add in shapes, and we've got chemistry, maths, physics, and variance. So if you're doing anything that's technical or scientific, hands down, Mango is better. Mango is much better suited for this type of thing, for technical stuff. You can voice over, and I should have mentioned you can do a voiceover in Doodly. You can add characters. You can add captions as well. Picked the wrong one. Let's add a caption. Hi, this is a caption. Doodly calls it subtitles, it's captions really. Apply to all. Save. So you can see here, there's my caption. If I go to the edit actions, I can edit the actions that it comes in and leaves with. So I can do hand drawing as in Doodly. So let's have a look at that. So here we go, let's just play it. So that gets drawn in just like Doodly. It's up to you whether you think it's better or worse than Doodly. And then we can have a leaving effect. So I've had it come in. I can now have an exit effect. Now I get a lot of exit effects, and you don't get those in Doodly. You don't get any exit effects. Let's slide it out to the left. So let's have a look at that. And again, I can change. So I've got my entrance, and entrance is a block, and I've got my exit. And if I move those apart, this is going to be drawn in, it's going to stay there, and then it's going to go. So let's have a look at that exit. Yeah, so that's it really. In terms of adding things in, you get assets and stuff with Mango Animate, but they're maybe not as good. You've always got this sort of perpetual loading, which infuriates me. If I type in, here's a microphone, I'm just going to drag that in. The one thing I do like is we get these align tools, and you don't get any aligning tools in Doodly, which I find quite frustrating. So I'm going to align that in the center. I'm going to align it in the middle. One click or 2 clicks and that's all done. So definitely that is a bonus over Doodly. So what does Mango Animate do better than Doodly? Well, it's much better for scientific or technical things. This would be really good if you're doing flowcharts for a business, because you've got all these shapes. They're really useful. You've got all the flowchart shapes. I don't think the assets are very good. You get more control and you get a timeline view. You get camera moves as well, which you get in Doodly. You get more transitions. But if you're doing a whiteboard animation, all you really want is just things drawing in. You don't really need anything fancy. This is cheaper as well, and you get everything included. So this costs me $39 instead of $67, and I went for the Pro version, and you can pay more and get an enterprise version. But I think where Mango really stands out is you can try it without having to buy it. Doodly, you have to buy it, and if you don't like it, you can get a refund. But with Mango Animate, you can try it because there's a trial version, and you just get a watermarked output. Mango Animate has more features but is more cumbersome. It took me a lot longer to learn how to use it compared to Doodly. One of the other things that's really quite good with Mango Animate is you get lots and lots of templates. Now, I'm not saying I would use these templates, but they're quite nice to have there. So if we have a look at this one, it downloads it from a server. So we've got a template that's already done, and we would only need to change a few things, and the templates can be quite advanced. Here we go. So I'm going to stop it there, but you get the idea. So we get templates, we get things in color, and I feel that Mango Animate's whiteboard is really more a jack of all trades compared to Doodly. Let's have a look at why you might want to get Doodly. So Doodly is simple. Doodly is probably the class leader, but more importantly, if we go and export this, Doodly will export at 1080p, whereas Mango Animate's whiteboard will only export at 720p. If I want to get that 1080 export, I've got to pay for the top package, and I think at the moment that's $140. So I've got to pay more just to get the 1080 export. So I've just reloaded a new project in Doodly, but I've set it to Glassboard. I want you to have a look at the difference in Glassboard compared to Whiteboard. So that's as though someone's writing on a piece of glass. Now, you can't do this in Mango Animate, and I think the Glassboard looks really polished. I don't use it all the time, but I think it looks really polished. I would say Doodly is better known. There'll be loads and loads of tutorials and things for Doodly, and people will know Doodly. And what Doodly does well, it does very well.